Hi, I'm Sarah from SidetrackSarah.com, and today I'm going to show you how to use your big scary Instant Pot. I know some of you may have gotten this for Christmas, or you might have had it in a box for months, or hopefully not years, and you've just been a little bit intimidated by all these buttons and exactly what to do. You're wondering if there's a chance that it might explode. There's so many worries about the Instant Pot, but I am going to come in and show you exactly how I figured out the best way to use the Instant Pot. And I'm not going to do it as like I wrote the manual sort of way. I'm going to do it like I'm telling my friend, because I get asked by my friends all the time how I do these different things with the Instant Pot. And it's actually quite simple. So I'm hoping that you can come to me more as a friend, and if you have any questions, then you can just leave me a comment and I will be happy to answer your questions on another video. Alright, so first off, I would like to talk about maybe what you think your Instant Pot will do and what it really will do. So I came from using a slow cooker a lot. I am a mom of a large family. We have 7 children, and so I found that I would use my slow cooker on a daily basis at any time I could, but then I would get frustrated when I wanted to use the Instant Pot because I couldn't do everything exactly the same. I couldn't just throw it all in and have it be okay, because if you throw like vegetables, broccoli for instance, into an Instant Pot for 20 minutes, it will become nothing. It will steam, and then it will break down, and it will stir into your rice if you happen to be making it with rice. And it will turn your rice green, but you will have no sign of broccoli. So ask me how I know. That was one of my first big mistakes that I made. So anyway, so I was a little frustrated when I first started using my Instant Pot because I wanted it to be exactly like a crock pot. I wanted to be able to put the meat and carrots and potatoes all at for the same amount of time. But really, meat needs to cook a lot longer than potatoes and carrots in an Instant Pot. So I have out my 2 Instant Pots that I have. This one's a 6-quart Duo 60. They're both older than what they sell currently on the market. So, but you should be able to learn from these as well. So this is my 6-quart and this is my 8-quart. I don't have anything fancy, like I don't have the digital things or anything like that. I don't have internet linked. I prefer it to be as simple as possible because I really only use one main button on my Instant Pot, and we will go into those right now. Alright, so on my 8-quart Instant Pot, we have several buttons. Yes, well, let's see. I'm going to compare them really fast. Hopefully I can zoom in on the video. But we have several buttons. We have soup and broth on my 8-quart, and just soup on the 6-quart. Got meat and stew on both, beans and chili on both, poultry on both, rice, multigrain, porridge, and steam. I have all those buttons on all of them. Then I have a slow cook button, a saute button, pressure level, delay start I have on the 8-quart, but I don't have that on the 6-quart. Instead it says timer. I'm guessing it's the same thing, but I never use it, so I don't really care on that one. I have the keep warm button, which I use all the time, the cancel to cancel anything. Then I also have a yogurt on both and pressure cook on both, but on my 8-quart it says pressure cook. On my 6-quart, it will say manual instead of pressure cook. You'll find a lot of recipes will not, if you're looking for recipes online, they will not differentiate between manual and pressure cook. So just keep in mind, if you see something that says cook on high for, and that means high pressure, if it says cook on high for 15 minutes, and then that means like cook manual, and then you'll make sure the pressure is set to high pressure. I rarely ever set anything to low pressure, and most everything cooks on high pressure. Turn that off. Okay, so then most of the time you're going to use this pressure cook button or the manual button, depending on your Instant Pot. Okay, so now that you know the button, the main button you're going to use, now you may be wondering, well, what do I do with all these other buttons? I would just not pay attention to those buttons until you get really comfortable with your manual setting, so that you will just be able to make anything, basically, because really all these are a timer for the amount of stuff you have in there. So it'll just automatically set your time. But if you know your manual button, you'll be able to set your time for whatever you need, and you'll be more and more familiar with it the more you cook, in knowing how long to set that timer for. The most important things for you to know after knowing which buttons to push are, if you are planning to cook anything under pressure, which is typically why you're using the pressure cooker, your valve will need to be turned to sealing, and then you will always need liquid in your Instant Pot. So typically it takes a cup of liquid to come to pressure. Sometimes you can get away with less, especially if you're cooking a meat that tends to let off a lot of liquid in it. So like sometimes when I do chicken, I don't put a lot of extra, I mean, I put some extra liquid in, but I may only do a half cup depending on the recipe, because I know it creates a lot of extra liquid. But if in doubt, at least have a cup of liquid in it in order to come to pressure. All right, so I know that you are wanting to know, okay, so what if, I'm sure you've heard about those stories where, or maybe you've even experienced it. What if you're cooking along and you think you've done everything right, but your Instant Pot won't come to pressure? Now there are several things that you can check. Of course, the first thing is to make sure you actually did turn this to sealing and not venting. That is a common problem, because sometimes we think we did and we didn't, or we just forgot to do it. That's first and foremost. Now sometimes if it won't vent, if it won't seal, and it happens occasionally but not that often. And for me, it happens more on my 6-quart than my 8-quart. So, and this is an older machine, this is newer. I also get more burn notices on my 8-quart than my 6-quart. So, like I can get away with cooking something a little crispier in the 6-quart because it's not as sensitive to that burn notice. And that may just be because this is an older model, and that may not be the case anymore on all the newer models, but just thought I'd throw that out there just in case. Now, the next thing to check whenever you are not sealing, one of the first things I do if it's not sealing and I know my valve is checked is put to sealing. I will just put a little bit of extra pressure on that, and you'll see this little pin it'll come up a little bit when you do that. Like I said, this one's a little bit better at doing that than that one, but a lot of times I can get it to seal right then, and you don't want to do that like every time. But if you're like, wow, that's taking a while to seal, I think I need to help it out a little bit, that would be the first thing that I would do, is push down on it. Now, if that doesn't work, then you need to think about what you put in it. Did you have at least a cup of liquid? And so if you didn't, then you might need to add some more to it. Now, when I say a cup of liquid, you can use sauces and things. Like sometimes I count my thicker sauces, but I don't count them for a full cup. Like say it called for barbecue sauce or salsa or something like that. Usually salsa, since it's a thinner sauce, I would use like a cup of that and count it. But barbecue sauce, I probably wouldn't. I'd add some water with that. Now, if once you've opened, if it doesn't work, the next thing to check is your ring to make sure it is completely on correctly. Now I'm going to come around really fast and show you up close. Now on here, now the light's not going to be good. You can see that it's all the way around. Now you can take this ring off to wash it, and a lot of people really like to do that every time. I would say that's not necessary to do it every time, but rinse it off, because I think the more you take this thing off, the more likely it is to have a harder time sealing. But if you find that it's your ring that's the problem, then you can order a new one from Instant Pot and replace your ring. That is totally okay. Now the next thing to try and check is right here. Sometimes this gets clogged, your vent. Like on this one, for me, this thing does not remove, but on my 6-quart, I have this and it comes off and it can get clogged. So if you happen to have one that's removable, I would take it off and clean all sides of it. If yours is not removable, then just clean on the outside of it. Next, I'd like to address the fact that people are sometimes scared. They've heard these stories of their grandma's pressure cooker exploding on the stove, and they are scared that that their Instant Pot is going to explode. And while I've heard like 1 or 2 stories of an Instant Pot messing up, that is by far not the norm. I rarely have heard anything like that. So the biggest reason is because whenever your pot is under pressure, it has this mechanism, like when your pin is up, it has a mechanism that won't let you open your lid like it does right now when it's not up. So it's a safety feature, and it's really nice, because that's probably one of the biggest complaints, is people are afraid it's going to explode. Now, of course, anytime that you are going to open your Instant Pot, each recipe that you use will either say that you're going to quick release the pressure or natural release the pressure. So naturally releasing pressure means that you have cooked your meal in the Instant Pot or whatever it is you were cooking, and it built up the pressure, and then after it's done cooking, you're going to let it sit for like 20 minutes or less. It might take less depending on how much is in your pot. So you're gonna let it sit until that pin falls back down. Once that pin's down, you can open it, and it'll be on keep warm. It moves it to keep warm, so it will stay warm until you get back to it and can open it up. Now, say you are on a recipe that says to quick release the pressure, and sometimes it'll say natural release for 10 minutes and then quick release the pressure. So all you do is whenever you're ready to quick release that pressure, you just change it to venting, and all of a sudden everything will fly. The steam will fly, if you're not overly full, into the air, and it sometimes takes a good 5 minutes for all that steam to come out. So it can be noisy for a while. Puppies and children might get scared. If you have anybody sleeping nearby, it will likely wake them up. But because it's not quiet as it's releasing the pressure, but it does release a lot of yummy smell, and it usually gets people excited that we're about to eat. So anyway, you definitely want to pay attention to your recipes and do the quick release if it says so, or the natural release if it says so. All right, now a lot of you are wondering about accessories. Do you need accessories for your Instant Pot? Now, all of our Instant Pots always come with one main accessory that you will need, definitely, and that is your trivet. Now, the reason you use this is to keep it off of the bottom, like to keep certain meal things off of the bottom, because you don't want it burning on the bottom. If it burns on the bottom, it's really messy. It can really damage your pot, and it's hard to clean, and your meal just isn't as good. So your Instant Pot will automatically tell you if you're burning your food, and it will stop cooking it, which sometimes irritates me, and sometimes I'm glad that I didn't ruin my pot, you know. So it basically stops cooking it before it like burns really bad on there. It's usually still bad enough to get off, but with a little bit of soaking you can get it off. So so I only have the trivet for my 8-quart. I somehow lost the other one. Need to order a new one. But anyway, if you're planning to cook a meal that requires the trivet, you just stick it in there, you pour in a cup of water, and then everything sits on top of the trivet that you're cooking. So yes, there will be stuff that falls down into that water, but that's totally okay. And sometimes you might even use some of it as sauce, but you just don't want that, like say, a lot of times I will do like pork chops or something like that, and I will put it on top of the trivet. And you can even do like things like baked potatoes on the trivet if you want. Or also, the other thing is you can use one of these pans, a springform pan, and put it on top of the trivet inside. And it's another way to cook. It's called pot in pot technique. So like for this one, sure, I can make a cheesecake in my Instant Pot, and that's a very popular thing to make in the Instant Pot, and they say it's amazing. But I also make things like, we call it taco pie. It's kind of like a taco stack with tortillas, and it's one of my daughter's favorite foods. And we just stack in all the ingredients, kind of like a lasagna. You could do a lasagna in this, and if you need more than just this size, you can get two and stack them on top of each other, and it works with your trivet. So I make loud clinging noises. So that is that. All right, so that is the basics of using your Instant Pot. In the next video, we are going to show you some of the most simple dishes to make that you should definitely try if you're a newbie to using your Instant Pot. You ready to get started? And if you're new to this channel, I would appreciate it if you would share this video with any of your friends who may have gotten an Instant Pot and not mastered it yet, or got an Instant Pot for Christmas. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me get the word out about my channel and helps others learn more about this amazing cooking tool that they have in their kitchens.